Hello and welcome back to another Jared's Humble Maps time lapses. Today we are going to be focusing on a beach scene. The idea is that there are waters crashing up onto a beach with some cliffs in the upper portion. We'll go over the tips of the tricks, tips of the trades, the tricks of the tips. Losing my mind already. Is going to be very basic for all beach-like things moving forwards, whether it's an open beach, whether it's a small alcove in a lagoon of sorts. Sand is sand, water is water. It's just how you play with the colors. So here I am, I'm putting these cliffs down. The idea is that there's going to be a path that leads further north, either for reinforcements to come down, for the group to come out of, or to proceed after this. And I left some of these clips in here. I'm trying to figure out how am I going to make this kind of cave entrance, bit of a ritual. It might not even be an entrance. It might just be like a tabernacle or a ritual scene here. And I left the scenes in because I went through probably 3, 4, 5 different iterations of what I was trying to do. The idea here is that there was a gateway or a just a focal point up against this cliff edge. One thing I struggled with a lot was working on the 45 degree, and it's not even a true 45 degree, it's like a 38.5, so just drove me crazy, and eventually found something in the jungle theme that matched what I was going for, this pre-made arch. And a lot of these stamps, a lot of the art is just from going into the basic catalog of Inkarnate, searching jungle, and then looking at what is available and what can I fit in here. A lot of times I'll spend 2 to 4 minutes in the catalog just looking at the stamps, drawing inspiration from it. For this map specifically, I had a scene in mind, but in no way was it finished until I placed that last stamp. So a lot of reiterations. I did cut out a bit of footage of me just going back and forth, and then also halfway through this I paused and I went on to the explore page of Inkarnate. I searched in jungle, and I was looking at what were other artists doing, what did their color palettes look like. I find that to be a great tool, especially when artists have published things, whether it's clonable or not. Everyone's got to start somewhere, so don't ever feel ashamed by taking inspiration from. Now, of course, if you're doing a one-to-one rip-off, might be worth giving some due where it's giving some respect or some dues to where it is due. But again, take inspiration from fellow creators. It's one of my biggest advice and tips for you guys. Some pretty basic things here, creating this stone platform that they're going to walk into, and then using the brush tools. It's at the top left. You can change it to different basically textures. So there's the default, and then there's one called dirt. There's some called, I think, pathway, and it gives it that really nice, the edges of your tool are kind of dissolved, or they look as if they're being taken over by the sand already. Just makes that project a lot easier. So I used the dirt tool using my brick stamp or stamp texture, and then put it on the sand, and it looked wonderful already. Here I put some guidelines down just for keeping track of how I'm working on this 40-degree angle, and I basically want it to be focused on one square in the middle. So I eventually just picked a square right in the middle, and then I made my 2 pillars on either side of it equal distance, put a blood spatter down just so I wouldn't forget what that basic one was, and then again just decided, let's turn this into almost like a King Kong, where a princess or a maiden is tied up for a part of a ritual. Maybe that's the scene that we're going for. It's a rescue mission, or it's stopping the cultists from doing a sacrifice, something like that. So through the chains down there using the line tool, just a really quick and easy way of doing that, and then jumping over here into the waves. So again, it's a line tool that you click on the waves. I like to put the idea of where the sand is first, and then I'll put the line tool down to give me that actual wave boundary, and then I come back. It's the same stamp for sand, I just darkened the texture. So then I come over it again. The opacity is about 30 to 40%. I go over it once, I'll darken it up again. That side I'll do water side, darken it up, and then I come back in a little bit and I'll actually do a bright sand texture once again, It's just lots of little passes over and over. The idea is it gives this idea that just because the water hasn't rippled there in this exact moment of the battle or the picture being made, that sand is wet, you know, whether from tide coming in or tide going out. So that gives it that perspective of wet sand. Also just helps break down the beach. There's not a lot of rock or debris in this battle map, so just having different texture, different colors just helps the eye find things to look at and keep you busy. Here I'm just adding some general stamps for the waves that is crashing on the rock. So the idea is that the wave is coming up and around the rock. It just gives it a bit more of that realism. And then here I am adding just a bit more different colored sand. It's all the same texture sand, and then I'm just changing the hue or the brightness, just so it stays uniform, but again, breaks it up again. And then the best part about doing a jungle / beach theme, especially when you have this forest area, is the jungle stamps are so filling and so forgiving that you can't mess up. So I've just zoomed out completely, and I have clicked probably, I think at the bottom left, I'm at 800 changes. So the more plants, the better. You can put them anywhere. The more you put, the more they all look like they belong. So if you just have one tree in the middle of a field, yeah, that doesn't always make sense. But if you have multiple trees in a forest, of course, that's what a forest is. Similar to a jungle. So you'll always have these vines, you'll have these bushes, creeping out of the rocks, coming around the pillars. And then I'm copy and pasting all these palm trees, duplicating them, throwing them down a layer, and then turning the brightness to 0, so I'm making them pitch black, and then just upping the opacity so that it creates a really easy shadow effect. Here's a fun tool. If you use blood but change it to watercolor or even dirt / mud color, it's just a really easy texture that you can put around everywhere. I make the opacity pretty transparent for these. It just again gives the idea that there are water pockets or pools or kind of like wet footsteps. Just helps break up, adds more detail, allows your eye to wander and to find new things. It just overall adds just a lot of texture and character to the map. Just adding lots of little fluff, again breaking up the colors around these little rocks. The idea is that maybe the water, as it's been pulled back out to sea, these rocks offer a bit of pooling or drag marks before we jump into kind of shadows. So again, for shadows, I use the shape tool. I use the solid black line, fill it with black. I change the opacity to about 30 to 60%, and then make sure I blur it. My idea is that the sun is coming from the top right, so anything to the bottom left of this map will have a shadow, as you can see. Making sure everything is the same direction just goes a long ways for making the map being believable. A lot of those things, you're not actively looking for it as a player, or even just someone who's looking at art, but there's something in the back of your brain. We understand how shadows work, so when something is not that way, it stands out like a sore thumb. One thing for beach themes especially is lighting. So have a huge light at your top right, casting it down, and then I always find that people have these waters that just pop with amazing colors. Trick, just use light stamps. Make the lights a bright blue, make them a purple, add them into your waters, and it just makes everything super pretty right away. So here I am just walking through the map. Again, I'm talking about whether they want to enter into that, whether it's just a relic. We can have reinforcements come down. Maybe they're cultists are sacrificing a lady or a man, and it's an ambush. Could even be somewhere where you have merfolk or the Kuatang, whatever they're called. They're coming up and out of the oceans trying to ambush the players as well. So there you go. This is my approach for how to make a beach scene. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have another theme in mind, or if you want a battle map made, leave a comment below. I'm happy to do that. See you next time.